everyone. Welcome to our panel. Thanks for joining us. I'm super excited to be having this conversation with you all. Before we get started, as we do our introductions, I wanted all the attendees in the chat, if you could just give us a one-word check-in, let us know how you're doing, how you're feeling, and then we're going to go ahead and get started to introduce ourselves. My name is Briana Barner. I'm a PhD candidate from UT Austin. I have two kids. A 6-year-old son and a 9-month-old daughter. I'm still getting used to saying I have two kids. And before my two lovely panelists introduce themselves, I want you all to introduce yourselves, but I have a question that pertains to how I want you to introduce yourself. So I want you to introduce yourself, and I want you to tell us how you think that your child, or how you think your children will introduce you and explain what you do to other people. So Jaime, you can go first.
Great. Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to sit on this panel today. So my name is Jaime Cook. I am the founder and president of JLen Events, a full-service event firm based here in San Antonio. And we design, curate, execute events for corporate and nonprofit organizations. So you can imagine we've had a hit the last 9 months or so. And my children, that's a great question. I have a 12-year-old and a 5-year-old, both little boys. And my 12-year-old has grown up knowing mommy is an event planner. And he has grown up setting chairs, laying linens. I have some funny stories where he's even checked the facilities team. Like, mommy's not going to like that. It's not straight. And my 5-year-old, you know how they fill out those Mother's Day questionnaires? How old is mommy? What color hair does she have? Well, I'm 20 years old. I'm 7 feet tall, apparently. And when asked, what is mommy's favorite thing to do? He says to go to her job site. She makes people happy. So it warmed my heart that I make people happy, but I thought, oh, he thinks my favorite thing is going to my job site. But they both know me as the party planner.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. That just touched my heart. Meghan, how about you?
Hi, everybody. Meghan Garza. So truthfully, the best way to introduce myself is I'm a serial entrepreneur right now. I am the president and CEO of CHR Partners, a nonprofit affordable housing developer and social service provider. I've been the president for about 7 years now, and not something I'm ever going to let go of, I think. My career and background has been in nonprofit and, and basically politics and public service since the dawn of time. But in the last 5 years, I've started 4 different businesses that are still operational. And so now I don't call myself anything other than just a serial entrepreneur that's glutton for punishment. If, you can see my 9-year-old son is sitting with me doing distance learning. This is my life now. But if you asked my 9-year-old pre-COVID, what I did, he would say, my mom goes to work at southwest.com. And that's because I travel the country for affordable housing and nonprofit advocacy. So on any given day, I was in Houston or Dallas or in 6 of our other states. And so the only website he ever saw up on my computer was Southwest planning my next trip. So if you asked him, and my at the time 4-year-old was not very aware of my job other than mommy goes to work and helps people when he would come and do volunteer food drives with us and things like that. Now post-COVID, one of the companies I've started with my partner is Bear Aid, a diagnostics testing company. And so both of them are very aware that mommy and Juan go and help make sure people don't have the coronavirus. So they are very aware that we do our daily job and what we do is we have a staff of about 15 people that are helping us test people across the country, across the state, to keep people safe and back to work.
I realized that I didn't answer the question. So my 9-month-old probably would just say, mommy's just here to give me milk, because that's also what I do all day for her. My 6-year-old, so I've been in grad school since he was 4 months old. It's when I started getting my master's. So he would say, mommy just sits in front of the computer all day. So there hasn't been that much that has changed since COVID, because that still happens. I'm always on the computer. So I think that's how he would describe. But he also knows that I'll be graduating soon. So he'll randomly say, mommy, congratulations, you're going to be a doctor. So I think that that's how he describes me.
Yay.
I don't think that he understands that I'm not going to be a medical doctor, but he just says my mom's going to be a doctor, and I don't correct him. So I'm like, cool. You tell people. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. You both have really fascinating stories, and I can't wait to hear your responses to these questions. So the very first question that I have for you, of course, is how has your professional and your personal life shifted since the pandemic has started? And Jaime, you can go first.
Okay, mine has shifted a lot because 97% of my business has been lost due to the coronavirus. As a corporate and nonprofit event planner, most of our gatherings are well over the 10-person minimum or maximum. We're talking hundreds and thousands. So all of those have been postponed or canceled multiple times now, as we all had hope throughout the summer things would ease up. So really, I have had to just redirect my focus. We've been very blessed that we've stayed healthy as a family unit, and we have been able to focus on our philanthropic passions over the last couple of months, or several months, really. So running for Woman of the Year, benefiting Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, sitting on the board of Musical Bridges around the world and chairing their signature fundraiser, which was postponed and which went virtual and changed everything, really gave myself and my family, specifically my kids, totally new centered purpose. And it didn't let us, fall into the very easily slippery slope of feeling sad, feeling frustrated, feeling confused, because we're all at very different stages of our life, me and my family. So we found that common bond and reason to stay positive. But from a business perspective, to be more specific, it was not very long before we found that there was a real gap and a real need for people who still wanted to celebrate. We were still having birthdays. We were still having baby showers. We were still having anniversaries, graduations for that matter, which weren't, the middle and end of May. So a lot of my clients and neighbors and friends were coming to us about front yard celebrations. So I've always had a fabrication shop within JLen events. We've always been known for our large stage props, marathon starting lineups. So we just shifted that into yard signs, but not your traditional stick in the ground. They're very large scale, very customizable. And it also gave my kids a way to participate. My 12-year-old helps cut them out. My 5-year-old helps me paint them, and we all deliver them. So we just kind of shifted into helping people think of different ways to celebrate, be it yard signs, drive-by parties, event experience kits. My corporate clients are now over the no meeting or Zoom policy. They need to get their people engaged. If it's clients, if it's team members, if it's new hires. So we're doing a lot of drop ship deliveries of kits where you can still appreciate people, pick their spirits up. And that's really what, we've been doing to get through this.
Meghan, what about you?
Yeah, so we had the opposite problem of Jaime, in the sense that we are at CHR the frontline kind of social service folks for families that are living in an already established state of poverty. So when stay-at-home orders meant people couldn't go to work, when people were quarantined, and all of a sudden the question became, how do I pay my rent? How do I put food on the table? How do I get access if they're elderly and we're high risk? How do I get access to just everyday medications like Tylenol and Allegra and all the stuff that we go to CVS for and don't think anything about, became incredibly vital and critical services. So my staff kicked it into high gear, and we completely changed our in-person model to we became a delivery service, and we became a digital curriculum service. So every Monday, my staff did outreach door to door, literally knocking on doors in PPE, talking to residents and asking them, what were their needs, where was the status of their family, things like that. And then Tuesday through Thursday, we were doing digital curriculum, everything from youth mentoring on Zoom to movie nights on Zoom, where one of our college volunteers would put their Netflix account on the Zoom, and then everybody would just watch together, which I thought that was a really unique idea. I was like, I never would have thought of that in any other time but COVID. So we're doing stuff like that, financial literacy, all those kinds of things. And then Friday became emergency kit delivery day. So we would gather all of the emergency needs over the week and do Friday deliveries. We've had amazing partnerships with the San Antonio Food Bank and food banks across the state to be able to provide weekly food deliveries to all of our families across the state. So we've been doing about 3,000 families a week of food. And so what that really amounts to is the gear up for the work we did allowed all of the money they would have spent on those necessary household items to go to rent so that they weren't behind. Because even with this eviction moratorium that we've heard about and that's going to expire at the end of December, without rental assistance funds or some other pot of money to help, they're just going to have a really big bill at the end of the year, not just, it's not forgiven. And so we've been trying to do everything we can to supplant costs in the current term to allow them to kind of stay on track as much as we can. So things got really busy really fast. And so in the last 6 months, we've done about 90,000 food kits for families during COVID time. It's been absolutely absurd, busy. So there's that. And then obviously starting a testing company came from a place of passion. My partner, Juan Cano, was approached by a doctor in the community and really just scoured literally the globe for best practices on how to test asymptomatic individuals and how to reduce the dependency on PPE, designed this really amazing booth that we use on all of our corporate testing clients and our drive-through clients. And that's exploded as well. So in the last 4 months, we've tested over 10,000 people to help, prevent the spread. And now I think we're one of the only testing companies, at least in San Antonio, that'll test asymptomatic with a PCR molecular test for travel. So people want to get back out there. Like Jaime said, people want to get back out there. People want to see the world. They want to go back to normal. And we still have very hard regulations that prevent them from doing that without certain caveats. And so we're one of the companies right now that's making that happen.
Wow, this is like you all's business models are so different from each other, but I've learned so much just in hearing how you all have shifted and pivoted. I wanted to, in the spirit of that, of talking about how you've had to kind of like change gears, what are some of the opportunities that you all are mourning that weren't able to happen this year because of the pandemic? And Jaime, you talked about it a lot, but yeah, I just wanted to know, like, what are you all mourning about that didn't happen for your business that you were hoping would be able to happen? And Jaime, since you touched on it first, I'd like to hear your answer first.
So what didn't happen because the pandemic came across?
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, listening to Meghan, I feel like our issues are very, very, very small. We are, I know that it is incredibly important to keep people's spirits up and energy up and engagement up, but hats off to you guys too, Meghan. I adore Juan and proud of y'all. But so what I'm about to say sounds like first world problems. We had just signed really great contracts with Formula One and Google and many others and many locals too, who are, I depend on, for our livelihood. And that all came crashing down within days. The hospitality industry, from restaurants to entertainers to event planners to audiovisual to catering, like you name it, crashed. So within 3 days, all of us were getting email after email that said cancel, cancel, cancel. I mean, talk about wanting to crawl in bed and cry. We all did. I mean, my kids saw it. So I had no choice but to suck it up, buttercup, and get it together for them. But what I thought was going to be one of our record years is clearly a devastation. And I've only been in my business in JLen events for 5 years. I've been in the industry for 20, but we have grown year over year so much. And really, I thought had brought such sophistication to the events here in town and nationwide. So to have it come crashing down in March, there are no words, and it will take years for our industry to recoup.
Wow, that is definitely sobering hearing that. I mean, that doesn't sound like first world problems at all to me. Like, I mean, when you said that 97% of your business went kaput, like that's a big deal. And I'm sure that some of our viewers that are watching have had similar issues. So I can't even imagine what that was like. Whew, that I'm still just like, my heart is like, whew.
Yeah, I'm
Meghan,
only from crying right now. So
yeah,
on to Meghan.
yeah. Meghan, how about you?
Yeah, not first world problems at all, Jamie. I think everybody's kind of experiencing this thing. And then I'll tell you, like, it's folks like Jamie that bring that happiness that my residents haven't gotten. There aren't community events out there that are being hosted by like Hemisphere and by major partners that Jamie's worked with in the past that my residents would have attended as a free community event. And so we feel the brunt of that constantly on our side where, yes, our residents are very thankful for the services that we're doing, but nothing takes place from community. Nothing takes place from that engagement. And so people, like, how do I say this nicely? Like, people are experiencing emotional distress from not engaging with other folks. And so they're a little bit more difficult to talk to. They're a little bit more difficult to engage with. They're like, misery loves company sort of thing. And so, frankly, from CHR's perspective, the thing that we were really sad that didn't happen were, having partnerships with like event planners like Jamie in the community and other major, community advocates doing things that our residents could take a part of, and being part of the larger San Antonio. I think San Antonio is such an us and our town that losing that has been like the worst thing for our city. And then obviously let's not forget that San Antonio's main economic driver is travel and, tourism and things like that. And so that has also been a downpour considering many of my residents work in the tourism industry. They're your staff, your wait staff, they're your hotel staff, they're your maintenance staff, all of that. And it's been a huge downpour. So that's really, kind of terrible. The other thing too is, in the other businesses that I run with my partner, we've just seen a general kind of like Jamie, a huge pause. We had a technology firm that launched in April that was hanging on a city contract, and whoosh, big stop, dead in its tracks, all of the money diverted for at least a year. And so we're really thankful that contract is still in the process of moving forward. Just like, a year from now sort of thing. Like we'll see the fruits of all that labor like a year from now, not tomorrow, not this year. But that's a business that was established specifically for that product and that technology service that has that doesn't exist right now. Like there's no movement on it at all because, we're just not in that process. So I totally feel you on that one. So yeah, I think, but big picture answer, I wish for more community stuff, and I wish I hope we get back there very soon.
I feel the same. It's one of the things that really, because I'm not from San Antonio, I've lived here for 7 years, but one of the things that really connected me to this city are all of the events, and not being able to experience them has been really, really, really hard. I was looking forward to experiencing it with my daughter, and that didn't happen. And so I am for sure mourning that. Like, I think that has been really, really difficult to know that like all of the firsts that I thought that we were going to have with her has not happened. Although Halloween has helped because now the temperatures are cooler, so we can do more things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. And in noticing some of the things that have shifted, what are some things that has surprised you as an entrepreneur with your business since the pandemic has begun? And Meghan, you can go first with this answer.
Sure. So that have surprised me as an entrepreneur. Well, one, I never thought I'd be in the diagnostics business. Truthfully, like I think the true definition of entrepreneurship is being willing to take risks and solve problems for people, right? So that's what we did. So I never in a million years thought that would be the case. But I think it does take special people who are risk adverse to jump in there, head first and figure things out. I am completely surprised, 150% surprised, that in our shift to digital learning with CHR has actually been more successful in course completion and in curriculum completion for our families and residents than our live in-person stuff. So our live in-person lessons were great. We had, average attendance in our courses, but people kind of trickled in and trickled out. There was a lot of that. But excuse me, son. So with that, it wasn't really on their schedule. It couldn't be done on their time in their way. And so we didn't see great completion. Now with digital curriculum, they can log in, they can watch the recording, they can catch up, they can get ahead. And people are actually completing our financial literacy. They're completing our health and wellness. They're completing our cornerstone life skills classes with like record completion time. And so I don't think we're going to go back. Like, I think there are some things that lessons we learned, skills we didn't know we had, tools we didn't know we could use. And yeah, we're not going to let go of that, I don't think.
Jaime, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny you say we've learned about skills we didn't know we had, because that's exactly the top of my list. We've always been audiovisual experts, if you will. I have my partners that actually do the work, but we talk the lingo. We know what is needed for successful production of any size. I didn't realize how well versed myself and my team were in virtual events. So it really was it was frustrating because we were losing that interaction, and we had to really, really change our strategy. But it was a positive experience that we knew what we were doing. And my clients were incredibly relieved that they had engaged an event planner who could shift so quickly, who took that burden off of them, because it's scary and it's uncertain. And we're better at it now than we were in May. We've learned a lot of lessons about not just software platforms and tools and the technology of it, but also the engagement piece. How to keep attendees who've already been on Zoom for 6-7 hours a day and have kids sitting 3 feet from them on Zoom, and also teaching 5th grade, but like how to keep them excited, how to make us different. Why is our event different than the Zoom they were on 30 minutes ago? So I was really pleasantly surprised at how well my team did at embracing virtual and now hybrid. There's some elements that you really can still have the person-to-person when it's needed, but keeping it very safe for majority of attendees. Because again, we're talking about hundreds to thousands of attendees that we're typically working with. The second thing is really the fundraising opportunities that we've had the last 7 months. Anyone who knows me knows I've always said, I spend money, I don't make money. Because a lot of people think an event planner can also secure sponsorships and donations and auction items, and we can, but it is so important to set the expectation that what are we really good at, what are we not good at? Mm-hmm. And I've never been good at asking for money, and I am very good at asking for money now. So we've just learned how to focus on what matters, focus on the mission of different organizations, and put our all into it. I have this new passion. I've always loved to give. I've always loved to get my kiddos involved in the community with what they're personally passionate about. But I got the chance to do it now. I had the time. So that was really a fun surprise. And lastly, to be frank, it was the grace of my clients. There's been some nightmare stories from the hospitality industry about contract cancellations and postponements, because who had verbiage about a pandemic? Nobody. It's not a force majeure all the time. Yeah. And so I have been lucky personally to have very few clients who, were a little too difficult to manage. And I think Meghan mentioned something about how our personalities have changed. We're a little bit more moody than before. Mostly my clients have been the most gracious, understanding, flexible. I've even had some say, I want to pay your deposit now for 2021, just so y'all have the cash and we booked you and we'll just deal with the details later. So our community is unlike any other when it comes to that.
Wow, I can't even imagine how you all have had to pivot, but I mean, just listening to you all have done a fantastic job in a position that none of us ever thought we would ever be in. And so I commend you both for that. I wanted to bring attention to a work-life balance, because we're all parents. And Meghan, I'm fascinated by you, because even while we are in this session, you are completely paying attention. And then I've seen you doing things with your kids. And so I have been watching you in awe, that you've been able to just do such a great job of still being present with us while also still maintaining your children as well. And so I wanted to just know, like, how has your work-life balance changed? I mean, obviously you are on a Zoom call right now with your kids next to you. So that's very different. But I'm sure that other parents who are watching too are in awe of, like, you have like complete command of your presence. But I just want to say, know, like, how has it been for you? Do you have any tips? I mean, your son is sitting next to you and I haven't heard him the whole time. So I'm in awe. Like, if my son was here, y'all would have seen him. He would have been all over the place. My daughter too. So I just wanted to hear from both of you about, like, how your work-life balance has been and how you've been maintaining with that. And Meghan, since
Sure.
Go first.
So the answer to that question is there is zero work-life balance. There's no balance in this household whatsoever. It is all the things, all the time, always 24/7. No, but I'm being facetious. Look, I'm very straightforward with my kids. I'm very open and honest. I'm very, mom has a call right now for the next 60 minutes. You can look at the clock. I'll be done when the big hand is here, the little hand is here. And they can look to that as a sign, like, okay, when that's done, then we can communicate. The headphones are everyone's best friend in this household. Like my 9-year-old's in Mandarin class right now next to me. And then my youngest one is about to log on to movement and PE. It's just, we're on a crazy schedule. Everything on my calendar is color coded. But at the end of the day, I work on an incentive program here. Like, they earn things so they know to behave to earn. So they earn at the end of the day, if everything went smoothly, they earn to ride their bikes outside for as long as they want. If they do well all 5 days of the week and we have no temper tantrums and we have no major problems, then they earn, a treat, whether it's like snow cones on Saturdays or ice creams or things like that. But they have a punch card. So it's a very visible incentive program. Everything is very visual. There's no misunderstanding. Well, mommy kind of said this or mommy kind of said, nope, just go look. Just go look. And it's, you don't have to ask me, it's right there. But that's the only way I've been able to maintain some sense of order and sanity. But the thing too is I'm very organized. I'm very, very organized in the sense that everything is scheduled to the minute, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, whatever happens. And I just throw my hands up to the Lord and say, whatever is going to happen is going to happen these 2 days. But Monday through Friday, we try to be as organized and as planned as possible. So I have color-coded calendar that's like 7 colors, and it would drive anybody else nuts, but it keeps my brain organized.
Gotcha. James, what about you?
Hey, I can appreciate a color-coded calendar. I mean, organization's key. So yes, numero uno. Also agree, I don't think work-life balance should even be a term. Not today, not last year, not in 5 years. There is no balance. It's management. We manage when we're being a professional. We manage when we're being a mommy. We manage when we're being a wife, which is the same thing, or a friend. So I really tried to give myself that, because every time I'm trying to think about balance, there's no way. There's too many darn balls. How would you balance balls in your hand? So I just work about management. I have a very tight schedule. I feel like a very lucky mother. Both of my kids are, when they were virtual, super disciplined, self-sufficient. They really needed no help, and we had all the tools and resources. So thankfully that went well. But the second piece is they did go back to school. My kindergartner is at Cornerstone Christian. He went back August 17th. We didn't have a choice. There was no virtual option. First year there, new families. So I sent him, cried for 10 hours, petrified, didn't know what happened. He came home smiling ear to ear. And that trumps any fear I had. Yeah. It's been smooth sailing. My 6th grader is at Keystone. So I'm juggling, managing a drop off at Northside, a drop off downtown, back home to Northside, so I can work like 10 to 2 every day. This is my golden hour where I can focus. So me, it's about time management. And then they're very busy. I do keep them active, but they're involved in what I'm doing. So if I'm fundraising, they're part of my campaign. If we're building yard signs, they're part of that. So it's just keeping them busy, I think, safely. And then we also have the reward system. Now we operate on the rainbow, in preschool, how it was red, you call mommy, orange, yellow, green, because my kindergartner does that in school. So we used the same language, and it does work well, although it's backfired because he created rainbows for mommy and daddy. Very quickly, and he uses chip clips to move us up or down. So if I am moody or cranky, he's like, Mommy, you're going to yellow. And he will not forget. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, they hold us accountable, that's for sure. It has helped because I'm like, well, I don't want to go to yellow. So we that's our system in our house. It's cute.
I'm really glad these systems, I'm like taking personal notes for myself because these systems are great. I really like that you called it managing because I think that is a much better word. And I think that the minimum like that, if I can manage to keep everyone okay and like we're all smiling by the end of the day, even if we're not smiling, if we're all like, hey, we're okay, we managed to have a good day. So I think that managing is a great word, because some days my management skills are not the best, and then some days they are. And so I think that I guess that for me, that's the balance. So it's like, hey, sometimes things are going really great and then sometimes they aren't. And so I think that is really important to reframe how we look at.
Yeah. And you know what? I apologize to my kids a lot. I don't think adults and parents are above children. I over communicate with them, and I have a very good friend. I don't know if she's tuned in. She taught me a lesson a couple weeks ago because I have always taught my kids how to communicate. At 1 year old, my now 12 was telling me he was frustrated with me checking out Gymboree because it took too long. So I've always taught them to communicate and to apologize when they have hurt someone's feelings. And then now, of course, he's a little bit more sassy than before. And my friend said, Jaime, you've always, and I'll just tell him, just stop. Mommy said, stop, and shut him down. And she said, you can't do that. You've always taught him to communicate. And now you can't change the rules and tell him to, not have an opinion. And so when I get too much, I did it yesterday. I told him, could you just please shut your mouth for 5 minutes? And that's just not nice. So I said, I am so sorry for saying that. It wasn't a nice way to say it. Mommy's frustrated because we all go through ups and downs and the emotions right now. So I apologize a lot these days.
I agree. We are definitely big apologizer in our household. And my son will definitely call us out and hey, that wasn't very nice that you said that, or that really hurt my feelings. And that's something that he learned at school too, because they have a really big focus on that at school. And so he's very well at expressing himself. And I agree with you in terms of sometimes it can be very frustrating because I'm you are expressing yourself well, and it is hard for me to deal with that sometimes, but you're right. That's how we raise them. So we can't get upset about that. And also in terms of managing their emotions and our own emotions, how are you all showing up for yourself personally, and how are you showing up for your business, especially in times where things are so chaotic and hectic and we have no idea what the next couple of months are going to look like? And whoever wants to answer first.
Yeah. So showing up for myself, I bought a Peloton.
Me too.
Okay. So for me, fun fact about Meghan, I put myself through college as a professional ballerina. So physical fitness and just being physically active has always been part of my life. And it's that is how I clear my head. That's how I've always cleared my head. And so I got really into Orange Theory before the pandemic, and then that crashed and burned. And so what was I going to do? So I sucked it up and I bought a Peloton, and it's been amazing. Cause I still get the instructor yelling at me so that I don't have to think about what I have to do. Cause that'll never happen. I'll go to the gym and be 1, 520, 642, cause it doesn't matter to me. So bought a Peloton. That was my gift to myself for pandemic. Max, get out of there. So then, showing up for my employees, it's funny. We've always been separated by cities. We've always been apart, but for whatever reason, we never thought to engage each other virtually. We always just we'll retreat once a year. We'll do a big retreat once a year where everyone comes to one city. And when Meghan travels to each of the cities or whatever, then she'll meet up with that group of staff in that city. And I was like, man, huge missed opportunity that now we do staff monthly lunches where I do the same gift card to the same restaurant in every city. So we're all eating the same thing, whether it's Chick-fil-A, Whataburger, whatever. So I send them gift cards to the same restaurant across the city. So we all have the same cup and we all feel like we're sitting at the same table. And we just, pardon my French, shoot the, no work talk allowed. Like they can't bring up work problems. They can't bring up challenges. It's, and to break the ice, the first time we did it in April, I made them bring show and tell. I was like, bring something that's like something nobody knows about you. That's like, your dog, a football, your favorite t-shirt, whatever, it doesn't matter, like show and tell. Because we had to break the ice and like not be so uppity. So we've been doing that. It's worked.
Jamie, what about you?
Okay. So I just made a message to our chat because y'all have to go on Instagram and look at John Christ's video. I love him. He's a comedian. So this is in good spirit. About every Peloton. Oh my God, it's hilarious. It is so funny. So he'll really break up your bad mood if you need a giggle anytime about any topic. So I also started working out. I now go to a trainer with my ex-mother-in-law. We have a very blended family and we love it that way. So we go every Monday, Wednesday, 9 to 10. It is hard, but it has, and I don't like working out. I was cheerleader, figure dancer, back in my youth, but it is not fun for me. I don't get my friends who get excited about it. I like the clothes, but don't like it. Don't like how it's 30-minute drive. It's an hour workout. It's a 30-minute drive home. Then I shower my whole morning, but once I start, I'm in week 6. Let me tell you, once you do get over that hurdle, it does feel good just to do something for you. The workout never feels good. I still don't look forward to it. And I lay out my clothes the night before so I get excited. But it feels great to have that hour. And when I got out of it this morning, I had 17 missed text messages and 3 missed calls. But I was like, oh, well, if people can't give me 1 hour before I get back to them, then, that's their problem. So that's felt really good. But I go back to the fundraising. I found more joy in that and giving back, not just on the campaigns I run for the boards, but even with clients like All-Star Healthcare who are putting together personal care packages for those who just can't not afford toothpaste, shampoo, deodorant, very basic needs every human should have. Our team is providing those things, stuffing those bags, bringing in the sponsorships like Whataburger to get those out to people. And honestly, that has just made me feel good. I'll never stop that. Now that I've got that bug, pandemic or not, we're always going to have something like that on our daily schedule, color-coded, hot pink, super important.
I love it. I love it. So also my next question, and probably one of our last questions, is what's next for your businesses and what's next for you? Meghan, you can go first with this one.
Sure. So CHR just had our last 2020 board meeting yesterday. And so we are in the process of finalizing our 2021-2022 strategic plan, which includes a major shift in what we've been doing. So pretty stoked about that. It's going to kind of hopefully put us in a new lane than we've ever kind of played in before. So we're really excited about that. So that's kind of up and coming. The next thing is, we are looking forward, Rise Civic Consulting is looking forward to working with the city on our new technology project. We were super excited about that. So that'll be coming 2021 as well. And then for Bear Aid, our testing company, the fall is going to be a really important 3 months, October, November, and December. Get your flu shot, please get your flu shot if you're listening to this. Because one of the major things that we're anticipating is a huge panic between, do I have COVID or do I have the flu? So we're looking at partnering and figuring out how we're going to hopefully figure out a 2-for-1 test special kind of sort of thing, so that we can really ease concerns, but also give people the answers that they need. So that's up and coming, and one of the things we're in the process of working on right now.
Awesome. I have no idea, 0 idea. I don't know. It is very hard to plan. It was already hard to plan for the future with events because so many are last minute. And it's just difficult, as people's strategies change every single year. Now we literally have no idea. So we've got most of our gala season, as it will, which is kind of now and then again, January through March, virtual through 2021. So in my mind, because I was very naive at the beginning of this, thinking that by the end of the summer, we'd be back to business, I am now planning all the way until January 2022 that it will be hybrid. We are still doing some small gatherings. We represent a couple of incredible venues here in town that have the safe space to do it, have the precautions, have the staff. So I'm excited that they can get back to business because, again, it's hit everybody here. Our waiters were out of business and cooks. And so I will always be an advocate of that. But first and foremost, safety. I just had to talk this morning with a client. We had an art show this weekend. Everybody was very well behaved, but I need to keep it that way. We have one every other week. And I'm like, some people don't want to stay 6 feet apart, you know, and we have to be confident enough to ask that person to leave. So we're just going to stay on our toes when it comes to our government and our leadership's communication about regulations and rules. It is my job to keep my venues and my guests safe. So I will not be the first event planner that has, you know, a super spread. So we're just going to keep on top of that. And when the big ones come back, they'll come back. Because if you stay honest and gracious, then your clients will come back when we're ready.
That's a great answer. We have a question in the chat, so I want to read it to you all and then you answer it. So this is from Facebook Live. What's the best first step someone can take when thinking about starting their own business? And also, did any of you benefit from a women's entrepreneur peer group?
Good question.
So formally, did I ever attend a women's peer group? No, but talk to as many people as you can. Like, ask all the questions. You know, I had a really great mentor. She's from California, met her through business school. And the thing she kept saying over and over again, her ideas are cheap. Execution is where it's at. And so there's going to be a lot of ideas out there. No one's going to steal your idea, because the most valuable asset you have is the passion to actually execute it and the desire and the drive to execute it. So yes, talk to peers. My mentors have been priceless in giving me not only advice, but the courage to take big steps. And, you know, my answer to what's the first thing you should do if you're considering running a business, besides talking to everyone under the sun to make sure it's the problem you're trying to solve is actually a problem for more than one person, is to just do it. Because the only person standing in your way is yourself.
Yeah, amen for that. So let's see, the first part was first step. So first step I took, I did speak to everyone I could trust and looked up to about making a transition from corporate life to entrepreneur while I was pregnant. And why would I do that then? But I did. So once I had input, the first step was, is there a gap? Am I fixing a problem? Will I be an asset, or am I opening up a business that's already been saturated in my market just to be set up for success? I found a gap. The second is, and I'm stealing this from a friend, and if he's listening, give us a little emoji. Lorenzo Gomez has written several amazing books, and he has always recommended that entrepreneurs get a personal board of directors. It's the first thing I did. He's on my board. The key to getting your personal board, and you can call it whatever you want, it can be an advisory group, it can be mentors, is that you specifically ask them. So, Lorenzo, will you be on my board of directors for this? So I've got someone who helps me with marketing ideas. I have someone who helps me with hiring and firing. I have someone who helps me with my financial goals. It's very important you have these people, and they won't say yes if they don't mean it. So that you ask them point blank direct, and then you use them. You know, when time comes, don't be afraid, because nobody knows how to do any of this. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a financial plan. I just knew I had the passion for it, which is to Meghan's point. If you're the one that has that passion, and nobody can steal that from you. The second part of the question was women's entrepreneur groups. Man, I did not formally join any either, but I can't even count the number of women and groups like San Antonio Startup Week that I have called on, you know, and men and women. Like, to be frank, I have so many men out there who are just cheerleaders of women-owned businesses. So really, sex aside, it's just about finding your circle who genuinely want to support you and help you grow, and we'll call you out, you know, when you're doing something wrong. Put me on yellow or orange on my rainbow chart. So I recommend it though. I wish I had, and I probably will now. So I don't, you know, the more resources you can get, the more groups you can become a member of, the better. It is about networking, and none of us love it, but it's not as bad as you think when you're in an industry that you love so much.
Thank you for those answers. We have 2 more questions. So the first one is a long question, so let me get ready. Okay. So it says, this is one from Facebook from Juan. The challenges we are facing today are not only physical, but also psychological. How can we revive San Antonio's conference, local events, and wedding industry in a way that safely addresses both? Bear Aid has successfully provided a pathway to safely host events and weddings through PCR testing and check-in services like temperature checks and screenings, allowing families to reconnect during a very special but anxiety-ridden time. What else should we be providing the event attendee to make a return to normal more comfortable? And Juan says he's asking for a friend.
Yeah, I think we all know who that question is directed for. Just saying.
So funny. Okay, those are all perfect steps. So it is exactly what we're doing when it comes to our in-person or hybrid events. We're doing all of that. Temperature checks. Our staff is trained, not just pre-event, like multiple days, but like 1 hour before the event. We're sitting down with our staff and going over mask wear techniques, gloves, cleanliness, when they're transitioning dishes, opening doors, all that matters when it comes to taking care of our guests. Honestly, I think spatial issues is my biggest challenge. It's like people are magnetically drawn to each other. They will not stay 6 feet apart. So we're having to get really creative with, and I'm actually going to call out to the Witty here. I think they're doing an incredible job for the game dinner coming up. They're almost sold out. It's in person, and it is done with such meticulous care and awareness of guest safety. They should write an article about it. So you almost have to physically put people in cages. They're calling them corrals because it's a game dinner. So they will space everybody with their party. So we know they're family oriented and, you know, all from household and that, and they have no choice but to kind of keep their distance from people. I think signage does work a lot of the time, but it's manpower, making sure that people are following the rules that a venue and a planner is putting in place. But otherwise, I mean, really, you got people like Meghan and Juan are really doing incredible work to help us. You know, the check-in process is important, and making sure that the guests coming are negative and are in good health and good spirits is very, very important.
Okay, we have another question. Have either of you needed to raise outside funding? If so, how have you found that experience to be? I'm struggling not to be hypersensitive to comments I feel are directly related to my gender or my status as a mother.
So the answer to that question is so the answer directly is no, I have not raised outside funds. But my partner and I made very explicit and very direct choices to not raise outside funds, particularly because many of the businesses that we're working with, either our technology solution or our diagnostics company, deals with very sensitive information. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't expanding the pool of investors that would have access to this information, or we would ever be pressured to sell that data in the event the business was looking for additional capital. So we were very deliberate in protecting our clients, protecting those we served, was of the utmost importance to us. So, but that doesn't mean we didn't have financial needs or capital needs. And so in true entrepreneurship fashion, the way we funded our technology company and the creation of the solution itself was by starting another business. So we started a smaller business that was service driven. It's a landscaping company. So we started a landscaping company to fund our technology solution. So we had to get creative. And as serial entrepreneurs, both my partner and I, like I said, we're glutton for punishment, but we were very passionate about what we were doing, and we were very committed to what we were doing. We were very committed to the way we were doing it. And that was more important than not taking on extra work to protect that. So we did that. Now, I completely understand how some comments may feel gender directed or might be directed as a mother. I think, as I mentioned kind of earlier, and I sat on a women's leadership panel a couple weeks ago as well. We are our worst enemy. We are the ones standing in front of each other. And so even when we're faced with those kind of comments, I think how we react is more important than the comment itself. So if you allow that comment to affect your confidence, to affect your passion, to affect your desire to execute, then they've won, essentially. Then they've had the opportunity, they have the power now, versus listening to that comment, completely ignoring it. Like, become a professional politician. Don't answer the question. I mean, as we've seen in the debates, just don't answer the question. Move on, talk about something else. Go to your stump speech, hit your talking points. Make sure the message that was given is the message you wanted them to have, not the question they asked. Particularly in those situations. There's some questions you can't get around, like how are you going to make money? What are your projected revenues? Those kinds of things. Got to answer those. But outside of that, you are in control of how you react, and you're in control of what you get to say and what you leave them with. And so take the power back, girl.
Yeah, that's a great message. We should just close with that. But I did not raise funds, to continue the business. We were in good financial health before this happened, and we're able to sustain it. However, we did take advantage of any loans or financial assistance that is out there. And I highly recommend that. And I will say that Lyft Fund here in San Antonio was a huge help and great resource for somebody who is, it's like Chinese to me. Like that's absolutely my weakness. I don't know who was really great at writing loans to begin with, applications, but now we are. So I highly recommend looking at those options that are either free or very, very low interest rate for many, many years to help get you through at least this hurdle right now. And I mean, it's different if you are starting a business versus have an existing one. Totally depends on type of business. I don't know if it's the best time to start one, but if you have one, you're just trying to get off the ground for a few years like myself, I really took advantage of those IDLs and PPP and anything that's out there. So Lyft Fund is a great resource for questions like that.
We have a few more minutes, and I wanted to ask if there were any other questions. I don't see any in the chat, but oh, you just did. Okay. Are there any other questions from Facebook or from the attendees that are here?
Wow. I haven't even cursed yet. I usually curse at least one time. This thing.
See, woman power. No, while we're waiting for questions, if there are any others, one of the things that I think as a mother specifically, and as an entrepreneur, that the pandemic has really highlighted for me, and I think Jaime, you probably could speak to this too, is, one, I can't remember the last time I had an opportunity to have 3 square meals a day with my kids.
Right.
For an extended period of time. 2, I think, like you said, you had a skill set within your staff that you didn't even know you had. And I think pandemic has allowed us to truly realize the strength of our teams that we probably didn't even recognize. I think one of the biggest things is, can your team function without you? Because you can't be there in person, or you can't be on that call, or you can't be, and seeing our teams excel without us present, or without us having to point and, manage, really demonstrates the leadership we had exhibited prior to the pandemic, and that, really talks to the strength of our teams. And so I think, and I think the overwhelming response to welcoming virtual events and hybrid events has really shown that distance is no longer an issue. I'm part of Leadership San Antonio, and I think one of the things that we pivoted huge this year for LSA 45 and hosted virtual days. But what that allowed us to do is get speakers that we never would have been able to have because they're not in town. It allowed us to access a number of different things. And so I think there's a huge silver lining in all of this if we make the choice to look for it.
Jaime, do you want to have any closing remarks? Because we have about 4 minutes. Do you have any closing remarks?
I mean, I just say, chin up, guys. We are getting through this. And I think that of any community to live in right now, I would not choose any other but San Antonio. I mean, we are in this together. And I've loved seeing the support, the encouragement. It is really, truly such a blessing. And my children see it. And if there's anything I can ever do, I feel like we're all a family. So, hey, chat, I believe earlier in the chat box, y'all shared both Meghan and I's contact information, or at least websites. So please reach out, take us up on that offer. We're here because we want to help too. We want to see other women-owned businesses succeed. So don't be a stranger. Congrats to the San Antonio Startup Week team, because this is a lot of work. I know, exactly. And it seems to be going really well. So thank you all for including me.
I wanted to add closing remarks. I think this panel was fantastic. It was awesome hearing your stories and hearing how you all pivoted. I think that you all are offering fantastic services. I think that the celebrations are just as important as the social services, because they both provide really important things. And so I'm grateful that you all took time out of your day to participate in this panel. I hope that you all continue to do fantastic work. I'm excited to see how you pivot in the next year, because Jaime, as you said, I mean, planning for next year also basically means planning for the following year, because we're going to be doing this for a while. And Zoom has been a very interesting experience for me. And I really appreciate getting to know different people that I might not have been able to get to know before on Zoom. And so I think that we're all learning how to make Zoom events even better. And I'm excited to see the different things that we can do in the future with Zoom as well. So I appreciate you all for participating. This was a fantastic opportunity. Thank you all for being here. And I think this is a great place to wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.